Let's continue learning chapter 4 through the second part of the presentation. Methods of assertive nationalists. The assertives believed that their objectives could not be realized or achieved without building in pressure on the Britishers. That is how we see the assertives adopted the policy of non-cooperation and resistance to unjust acts of the British government. Some of the methods of the assertives include Swadeshi. Swadeshi means producing goods in one's own country and using the same without being dependent on foreign goods. This idea was popularized among the masses by organizing foreign cloth bonfires, sugar and salt. Second, boycott. Swadeshi and boycott are two sides of the same coin. Economic boycott of goods produced in England and promotion and acceptance of Swadeshi was intended to encourage indigenous industries, that is local industries, and generate employment. So by adopting Swadeshi and boycott, the main intention of the assertives was to create more employment as well as to encourage and promote the local industries, traditional industries. Third method, national education. Assertive nationalists tried to include the active participation of students in the national movement. When the British government threatened to take disciplinary action against the students over this, assertive nationalists advocated establishment of national universities that were free from government control. As a result, in those days, a large number of national schools were established in East Bengal. Several new colleges were established with a view to encourage national education. In Andhra Pradesh, a national university came up with the support of Annie Besant. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar established private colleges in Bengal. In Punjab, the DAV movement, that is Dayanand Anglo-Vedic movement, made considerable effort in spreading education. And the fourth method, passive resistance. The assertive nationalists believed and promoted non-violent resistance, at the same time encouraged active political resistance by the masses. And in order to claim their rights, they believed in encouraging the Indians to develop amongst them courage, self-confidence, self-sacrifice, and to understand the true meaning of Swaraj. The assertives believed that the people should refuse to cooperate with the government and they should thereby boycott not just the foreign goods but the government service, courts, schools, and colleges. Apart from these four important methods, some other methods of the assertives included revivalism. Revivalism means to make something popular again. So here we see the assertives made an effort to bring about revival of India's past glory. These leaders came up with festivals to bring together the people on the same platform. They came up or revived the festivals like Shivaji festival was revived by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and also Ganpati festival was also promoted by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Apart from that, they made the people realize or once again recognize and understand the past history of India, to draw inspiration from the past history, Indian history basically, where we have had so many great rulers like Ashoka, Rana Pratap, Shivaji Maharaj, and so on. So the assertives wanted the Indians to draw their inspiration from these great heroes. So the assertives helped in instilling self-confidence and pride about India's glorious past by presenting the past rulers, great rulers, as national heroes. Next, personal sacrifices. The assertives wanted the Indians to realize the importance of self-sacrifice and self and to believe in self-reliant methods, and also wanted these people to give selfless contribution towards the country. Third, mass involvement. We have seen the supporters of assertives basically were the common masses basically. So they had immense faith in the common masses as such and wanted more and more masses to join the Indian national movement. They encouraged the masses by influencing them with their sacrifices and suffering. Bal Gangadhar Tilak is also known as the father of assertive nationalism. The British colonial authorities called him the father of the Indian unrest. He was also conferred with the title of Lokmanya, which means accepted by the people. Mahatma Gandhi called him the maker of modern India. He was born in Maharashtra in 1856. He completed BA Mathematics from Deccan College of Pune. In 1879, he obtained his degree in law from Government Law College. He started off his career teaching maths in a school in Pune. Later, he founded the Pune New English School. The success of the school led him and his associates to set up the Deccan Education Society in 1884. And we know the Deccan Education Society has set up many educational institutions, Fergusson College being one of them. Let's see his other contributions. First, demand for Swaraj. He is known for his famous quote, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it." Tilak believed in active resistance. He believed in the masses, in the strength of the common masses. And in order to organize, in order to bring more and more Indians to take part in the Indian national movement, he organized akhadas and lathi clubs to provide physical training to the Indians. Akhada is a place of practice for Indian martial artists, and lathi club is a heavy stick used by police in India. So he wanted the people, the Indians, to be ready for self defense, self sacrifice, and also he wanted them to develop self confidence amongst them. He wanted them to stand firmly against the British at times when needed. Second, preached nationalism. Tilak used religious sentiments to bring about nationalism, the feeling of nationalism. He came up with religious festivals in order to organize or in order to bring together the Indians on the same platform. He came up with religious festivals like in 1893 he came up with Ganpati festival. In 1895 he came up with Shivaji festival to encourage young Maharashtrians. He started two newspapers, Maratha in English and Kesari in Marathi, which served as a very important medium in putting forward his opinions, in sharing his ideas and views, and also in spreading nationalism. He wrote two well known books, the Gita Rahasya, which is a commentary on Bhagavad Gita written by him while he was imprisoned for sedition. Sedition means provoking or provocation, somewhere between 1908 and 1914. And the second book, The Arctic Home of the Vedas, it deals with the origin of Aryans basically. Third contribution, established Home Rule League. Home Rule movement is believed to have set the stage for independence movement. So the Home Rule movement or the Home Rule League was started at Pune by Bal Gangadhar Tilak in 1916 in order to achieve self-governance. Next, forerunner of Gandhiji. Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Gandhiji have quite a lot of similarities in their ideologies, in the methods that they adopted, and that is why Bal Gangadhar Tilak, since he was already a part of the Indian politics, he is known as the forerunner of Gandhiji. Forerunner means a precursor, predecessor, somebody who came prior to somebody else. So here we see Bal Gangadhar Tilak was the forerunner of Mahatma Gandhi, and they have given four similarities uh, between both of them. The first being both of them had similar idea of Swaraj. Second, both of them believed in the strength of the masses. Third, both of them had similar ideologies and ideas on the concepts of Swadeshi boycott and prohibition. Prohibition means to forbid something or to ban something, which was another technique used by the Indian leaders for the national movement. And fourth similarity is both of them have been to the jail or have been imprisoned quite a many times um, for the sake of the country, serving the country basically. Tilak's selfless patriotism, strong determination, and courage was truly uh, a great inspiration for the common masses as such. Bipin Chandra Pal was an Indian nationalist, freedom fighter, writer, orator, and a social reformer. He was born in Sylhet, now a part of Bangladesh, in the year 1858. He is popularly known as the father of revolutionary thought in India. He started his career as a social reformer and was closely associated to Brahmo Samaj. His interest in politics dated back to his student days. He visited a number of European countries, including America. During his tour, he observed, especially in America, that people showed strong unwillingness to accept anything from a nation that was not free. He returned to India with a strong determination to achieve for his country a rightful place among the nations of the world. In 1886, he joined the Indian National Congress. His contributions include: first, role as a journalist. As a journalist, he's worked for n number of newspapers and journals like Bengal Public Opinion, The Tribune, and New India, through which he spread nationalism. He used his profession, that is, journalism, in spreading patriotic feelings and social awareness. The British government quite often found his writings provoking. Once, when he was asked to serve testimony against Aurobindo Ghosh, testimony means a statement or like an evidence to provide a statement in the court against Aurobindo Ghosh, he refused, for which he was arrested and put behind the bars for 6 months. Second, national education. He wanted education to be organized on nationalistic lines. According to him, national education would arouse nationalistic passions against the foreign rule. Third, social and economic reforms. Let's see some of the reforms against the social and economic evils that prevailed in the society that he brought about. First, he fought against the caste system and wanted to see um, people coming together and sharing or socializing. So here the point given is he opposed the caste system and other rigid rules concerning interdining and intermixing. There were a lot of rules basically that applied on people belonging to different tribes or communities or belonging to different castes, religion regarding interdining. Interdining means where different people sit together and have food, or there were rules pertaining to intermixing, that is socializing. Second, he promoted widow remarriage. Third, he believed in educating women. He believed that only through education can you bring about women empowerment, or you can upgrade the women basically only through education. Next, he stressed the need to develop indigenous industries. Yes, indeed, it was one of the very important requirement in those days where a lot of unemployment existed and poverty and famine and all these problems prevailed, where indigenous industries, that is local industries, would provide more employment opportunities and would uh, bring about some growth and progress in the economical sector of India. So he promoted local industries in the country. Next point, to establish equality in society, he wanted the rich people to be taxed more, and rather than the poor being, uh, you know, poor being the ones who bearing the heavy burden of taxation and land revenue system. And the next, he demanded 48 hours of work in a week and an increase in the wages. So here we are talking about how Bipin Chandra Pal has also fought for the rights of the workers, where he wanted certain rules and regulations to come into existence pertaining to the working hours and pertaining to the wages for the workers. Bipin Chandra Pal died in 1932. Lala Lajpat Rai was popularly known as Punjab Kesari or Sher-e Punjab. He was an eminent lawyer, a powerful orator, a vigorous writer, a great journalist, and a staunch fighter against the British. He was born in Punjab. Lala Lajpat Rai took a degree in law and started his law practice at Hisar and later shifted to Lahore. In his student days, he was deeply influenced by Mahatma Hans Raj, a staunch Arya Samajist, and Pandit Guru Dutt, the then principal of National College, Lahore. While practicing law, he was attracted by the Arya Samaj. He was greatly instrumental in the growth of the DAV College in Lahore and the establishment of many other educational institutions by the Arya Samaj. Lala Lajpat Rai entered active politics in 1888. That was when he joined the Congress. He joined the Assertive Nationalists in 1907. He also fought against the agrarian policy, that is the agricultural policy brought in by the British government, that was against the rights of the peasants and farmers. He was arrested and deported with Sardar Ajit Singh, who was a revolutionary and nationalist, to Mandalay in Burma. He has also supported the workers and fought for their rights and became the first president of the All India Trade Union Congress. In 1920, he was elected president of the Indian National Congress. He became a member of the Servants of India Society. If you remember, Servants of India Society was an organization that was set up by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Lalaji was arrested in 1922 along with some other leaders, and on his release he joined Motilal Nehru and his Swaraj Party. In 1923 he was elected to the Central Legislative Assembly. So here we see he was quite active in politics, Indian politics. Let's see some of his other contributions. The first being an educationist and a forceful writer. As I said, he was a great orator and a vigorous writer. So as a journalist, when he traveled to USA, he started a monthly magazine, that is Young India, to spread the message of Swaraj, the right of India to attain Swaraj. His other publications include The Call to Young India, England, Debt to India, and The Political Future of India. Lala Lajpat Rai founded Punjabi Vande Mataram, which was an Urdu daily, and People, which was an English weekly. He also wrote a book on national education. Second, a social reformer. He was a great social reformer and he was closely associated to Arya Samaj movement. As I said earlier, he was instrumental in the expansion of DAV College at Lahore in 1886. He opened several orphanages, hospitals and schools. He set up the Servants of the People Society for the welfare of the downtrodden and outcast, downtrodden, helpless people and the needy people. For them, he came up with this Servants of the People Society, which was a non-profit social service organization founded by him, and the motive behind this society was to enlist and train national missionaries for the service of the motherland. Political work outside India. He went abroad a number of times, and Lala Lajpat Rai went to the USA on a tour in 1914 and joined the Ghadar party there. Indian revolutionaries in the USA had formed a party known as Ghadar Party. As soon as the First World War broke out in 1914, all the members of the Ghadar Party decided to send arms and men to India to start an uprising with the help of soldiers and local revolutionaries. So he joined the Ghadar Party. And then they're talking about how through his writings in Young India he tried to inspire the Indians towards assertive nationalism, inspired the Indians towards having a feeling of true nationalism. In 1928, while leading a protest procession against the Simon Commission at Lahore, he was severely wounded in a lathi charge on October 30 and succumbed to his injuries on November 17, 1928.